with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Jesse has kindly requested that I stop drinking fizzy drinks on the show that show ads that we don't want.
Yeah, advertise your mom's show. No, she has to pay too.
Yeah.
Put a cozy on that.
You're right. Okay.
I've cropped it out of frame.
Have you?
Yeah, they can't see it on the camera.
You can't see?
No.
That I drink a crisp, refreshing bubbly before every show?
Get that out of here.
Okay, fine. Hey, we have an announcement to make. But first, let me take a drink.
Oh, how dare you? I need a Hershey's Kiss to recover
Nobody could see any of that.
You know what? You and your Squid
The
Game
camera was on
shirt can
Steve.
fuck off, okay?
What?
I'm kidding. I love you.
Oh my god! How dare you! What is happening today? Squid Game.
It's a little bit, right?
Every green tracksuit is Squid Game all of a sudden?
Yep, forever.
Here, Jesse, give me one of these. Give me one of these.
Andrew, do you want to host the Andrew and Jesse show with me?
I'm down.
Andrew Berkshire's here. Yay!
I laughed so hard I'm seeing stars.
Oh, my God.
What the fuck is this bullying?
Well, Jesse, I will say I'm a good company man because I might be drinking a fizzy drink, but it's out of a
No.
Game Over.
Hey!
There he is.
With a Crab People shirt on. Andrew's
That's
on fire
right.
here. Okay, so, I mean,
And Adam, you would be banned from our Discord for that bullying. That's not allowed. Our mods would ban you.
They would. I'm sorry, Jesse.
Yeah, better apologize.
What should the punishment be? He gets slapped multiple times on a subway, or what?
That's Squid Game reference.
Oh, okay. All right.
that was a deep cut.
Deep cut.
No, but I mean, like,
Hey,
Oh yeah,
it's a little bit of a deep cut.
It's just like a, highly focused on thing in the biggest Netflix series
It was
ever.
unnecessary, is what I
okay.
should say.
All right.
What do you think of Squid Game?
Andrew, have you seen it?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Announce Squid Game.
Friend of the show, Sid Sixero, tweeted that if he knew it was going to end that way, he'd have never watched. Do you guys feel the same way? And don't spoil the ending.
I did not like it.
You didn't like the
I
ending?
didn't like the ending either.
No.
What? But there's going to be a season 2. That's the whole point.
What? What's wrong?
Everyone who hasn't watched it, go fuck yourself.
Oh, whatever.
I don't think that's spoiled.
No, I don't think so. It's not what happens, it's why.
Yeah.
It's always why.
It's been announced. Yeah, it is why.
Jesse's upset. Oh my god. Hey, listen. So we have Andrew on today because Andrew made an announcement last night, and we can't focus. Andrew, I apologize, but we've got Peter Mansbridge coming on a little bit later in the show to talk about his book, which is kind of cool. But we told Peter, listen, you need to wait. Andrew Berkshire needs to come on, and we need Andrew to come on and talk about the big announcement with Game Over. We've told you we are going to do different things on this network. Andrew, what are we doing?
We are doing an announcement for another announcement. No. Game Over for the World Juniors.
Yay! Now we're calling it Game Over Juniors because World Juniors is a trademark.
Yeah.
So, but Andrew, what does that mean you're going to be doing?
It means after every single Team Canada game, I'm going to be live with a series of amazing guests to talk about Team Canada. And Adam, I promise we will try to keep it to around a half an hour.
Yeah, right.
How
no one on this network, eh? No one on this network can keep.
No
it
one
to
listens
time.
to Adam.
So you're a few months in now to a season that's just going great for the Montreal Canadiens. So
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Are you excited to talk about a team that might actually win some games?
Yes, I am actually. I'm excited to talk about a team that's exciting, like to watch, to learn about like different prospects, and obviously it'll have some impact on Game Over Montreal as well because Caden Gooley is expected to be the team captain there, and that's a big deal. But Cole Perfetti from the Winnipeg Jets was just announced that he'll be released there. I know that wasn't necessarily news because he was already at the camp, but officially the Winnipeg Jets have loaned him to Team Canada. So there's lots of exciting players to talk about. I'm expecting there's a possibility by the end of this tournament that Team Canada will have as many wins as the Montreal Canadiens.
That was my next question.
Wow.
That was my next question because Montreal has 5.
Oh,
6.
my God.
Oh, is it 6 now?
6, yeah, get it right, Steve.
And then how many
the
to win?
disrespect.
How many to win the World Juniors?
I think it's 6.
6.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good bet.
Or okay, what are you taking?
Well, Canada would have to win gold.
Yeah.
Whoa. Aren't they not favored to win gold? Or well, I mean, they're always in it, but isn't this the Americans' gold to lose this year?
I don't think so. I talked to Chris Peters on a different show that I run about 2-3 weeks ago, and he said that the American team, even though they won last year, they don't have as much of carryover as you would expect for a championship team. So they're not favored this year. And maybe Canada has made some choices like they always do, leaving some talented players out that might hurt their favorability or whatever. But I think Canada's pretty much always the favorite. It's pretty rare that they're not considered the favorite.
Who was
Zegras
the big name that didn't make it a couple weeks ago that everybody's freaking out about on Twitter?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. I don't remember.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's a defenseman.
The Kings prospect.
Yes. Yeah.
So here's the other thing too, right? And we had to kind of do a solve on this one, as in like behind the scenes. Game Over Montreal continues, right? Like we have to keep going with that, and so it's like, what do we do? So we also didn't realize and had to learn that you can do multiple streams at the same time. A couple of these games will intersect. So there will be a Montreal Canadiens game going on and a World Juniors game going on. So Julian McKenzie has lovingly stepped in. Now he's going to do 2 Montreal Canadiens games, right, Andrew?
Yeah, that's true. On the 28th and likely the 4th.
Which is going to be great. By the way, I love the fact that you're going to also do the Montreal Canadiens games on top of the World Juniors.
I'm a madman.
You're insane.
It would be a lot worse if the World Junior games were like during the day, because during the holidays, obviously the kids are going to be home.
Oh yeah.
So it would be a lot bigger of an ask, which, maybe next year. But for this year, it's all in the evening. So it's okay. It just means I get to watch the beginning of it with my oldest, and then he goes to bed, and then I have to make it up to my wife after the holidays when she has to do every single bedtime.
There you go. It's tough to miss bedtime. It's tough. And
Leo was having a conniption during one of my Saturday night streams, and I just get a text like, "Can you help me?" And I'm like, "No." No, I'm in front of thousands of people.
Yeah, no,
I'm live on the internet.
Yeah. It's a good excuse. It's not going to help you, but it's a good excuse.
Oh yeah.
I do want to say, like, it's what's been so cool about discovering this is it means that, part of what our longer term plans are, it's sort of happening. And we'd love to have multiple shows live going at one time. So we will have that for the first time ever. So if you're a Game Over Montreal fan or you're a Julian fan, you'll be able to check that out. And if you're obviously, Team Canada fan, which a good chunk of our audience is, or even if you're not, I think it'd be hilarious to have, there's going to be Team USA fans all over this as well. And people from all over the world. Both of those streams will be available each and every night. And, of course, available on demand in podcast form for audio afterwards. Yes, they'll be on Spotify. Right, Jesse?
Yeah, we're going to have if you want me to talk about the audio side.
Yeah, tell me.
So we're going to have a Game Over international feed. There's a hint for what's coming up in the next couple months. So that'll host the Game Over World Juniors, and that'll come up on that feed. So hit subscribe, which you can do starting probably next week, because this will be the first episode of the show. You'll be hearing it on the feed. So subscribe to that, and then it'll pop up on your favorite podcast app after the first World Juniors game.
Yeah. So, Andrew, congratulations on yet another amazing sort of step with Game Over. And I think, just a hint of where we're going in 2022, this is the first step. And of course, Jesse hinted at it. There will be some other things to talk about after the World Juniors are over. And I do want to say this. Listen, the audience that Andrew has built up, and I'm going to talk about you as if you're not here, Andrew, with Game Over Montreal in objectively the worst first 3 months of a Montreal Canadiens franchise ever, is pretty amazing. There's times where it starts and there's like a hardcore group of people that are watching every time. And what's been amazing, also kind of like with Steve, is every time they win, the numbers go down. When they lose, it's huge. And I just want to say, Andrew, you've done an amazing job. The guests have been great. The content's been great. And I know it's a lot of hard work. And we just wanted to say publicly, although privately we would thank you as well. Thank you so much, because you've been killing it.
Yeah, the guest
my pleasure.
booking is like the most underrated thing
insane.
ever. That's such a hard thing to do, and
Herculean.
you're booking 82 guests for 82 games. It's unbelievable. So all the credit to
almost
you.
double that, because most times we have 2 guests, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's insane.
So-
And you don't have to. It's just Andrew wants to.
Yeah.
He could just be Andrew if he wanted it to be. But he's like, no, I'm going to do this myself.
I'm going to make this as hard as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So, and Andrew, thank you so much. And obviously, hopefully you get over this cold here soon. I know that you've been dealing with the same plague that Steve and I have been dealing with. But anyway,
yes.
So when is the first Game Over World Juniors?
I mean, it'll be Boxing Day, right? Everybody's favorite Boxing Day tradition. Although I guess for the Americans, you don't call it Boxing Day. December 26th, the day after Christmas.
Feast of St. Stephen, everybody.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it is. My Nona used to always call me on Boxing Day. Happy Feast of St. Stephen.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Right, Andrew? Am I right?
Nope, I don't know.
So you can
I've
sign up
never heard
right
of that.
now. Is the feed up for Game Over International?
No,
Okay.
no, not yet.
We'll let you know when that feed goes up. In
Yeah.
the meantime, look out for Game Over Juniors, and obviously Game Over Montreal continues as we make our way through the season. Andrew Berkshire, thank you so much, and congratulations!
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. These days, it can be hard to find the right candidates for your small business, and that's why LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to find the people that you want to talk to, and it's faster. And here's the thing. It's free, baby. So you create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond on the world's largest professional network of over 770 million people. I'm even on it. You can add me. That's right, me. I'm wearing a purple shirt. Seriously, look it up. Focus on candidates with the right skill and experience, and use the screening questions to get your role filled with the most qualified people, because you want to make the hire once, not multiple different times. Then you use simple tools like LinkedIn Jobs to quickly filter and prioritize who you want to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus its leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find candidates worth interviewing faster. And did you know that every single week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/NHL show. That's linkedin.com/NHL show to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Listen, let's talk about internet privacy for a minute. We're all a little worried, right? We know our information is being shared in places we perhaps don't want it shared. We don't know how much. We don't know who it's going to. We don't know who's looking at it. And that's why if you want to fight back against control of the internet, use Expressvpn. If you've ever wondered how free-to-access giants get all their money, well, it's by tracking your searches, your video history, and everything you click on. But you knew that, right? They're building a profile on you, and then they're going to sell it off. So when you use Expressvpn on the app, on your computer or your phone, you anonymize how much of your online presence is hiding your IP address. That makes activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. And what's more, ExpressVPN encrypts 100% of the network data that you put out there and protects you against eavesdroppers and cybercriminals. And what you'll like the most about this is it's going to take one click to protect all your devices. That's why ExpressVPN is rated #1 by Business Insider. So let's stop allowing tech companies to just take your information and sell it to random people. This is your privacy. You should secure it. Go to expressvpn.com/STP. That's expressvpn.com/STP to get 3 extra months free with this exclusive link. Again, it's expressvpn.com/SDP to learn more. I don't know how this happened, by the way. I don't know how this came around. Steve, you want to explain this one?
I got an email. Would you like Peter Mansbridge to come on the podcast? And I checked to make sure it was from an email that seemed legitimate and not someone trying to scam money out of me. And when I discovered it was really Peter Mansbridge, I said, yes, I would like to have Peter Mansbridge on. So welcome, Peter Mansbridge.
Peter Mansbridge.
Hey, this completes a life journey.
Yeah?
Like, this is the show that I've always wanted to be on. I've aimed my career over 50 years of getting to this point, and now I'm here. So whoever it was who sent you that email, they were definitely working on my behalf, because they got me to where I wanted to go.
Peter's a good liar.
It was Jillian who was promoting your book, but like, it's just so great that now you get to do the shows that matter.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that's what I've been waiting for all those times. I was on Cronkite, I was on the National,
Yeah.
I was on, you name it. I was
Ice
on
surfing.
it. But Yeah. But this
What'd
was
you
the
laugh
one.
for?
This was the one.
Well,
And now I'm here. I feel like liberated.
We are thrilled to have you on. Now, Peter, when you were, you got your new book, and we want to talk about it. It's called Off the Record, Peter Mansbridge. We'll get to it in just a second, but I got to ask you, when you were on the National, were you allowed to talk about, or were you allowed to openly in the streets talk about the fact that you were a Leaf fan? I mean, this is a national broadcast in Canada, and you know how regional we are. We love our teams regionally, and everybody hates the Leafs. So were you allowed to talk about it?
And everybody, tended to think that CBC was only in it for the Leafs, right? In terms of its hockey broadcast. No, I had a bad rep for hockey because people believed that I hated hockey because I was always upset about how hockey would bounce the National around in various time slots, and especially during the playoffs. So they had this whole image of me that was anti-hockey. But when they got over that, he's a Leafs fan.
Okay.
Even when I told them that I was also a Jets fan because I'd lived in Manitoba and I was there when Bobby Hull signed. I was there at the corner of Portage and Maine when Bobby Hull signed the whatever it was, his contract with Benny Hatskin, who was the owner of the Jets. And, it seemed like such a big deal then, right? $1 million for a hockey player.
Back then.
That couldn't happen, right? But it did. And I think that was like for a 3-year contract for $1 million. But anyway, it was a big deal. And as a result, I was a Jets fan and remained a Jets fan. Wow. In fact, I had season tickets to this latest incarnation of the Jets for 5 years, which were always taken by my grandkids and my daughters in Winnipeg. So, but anyway, I've been both a Jets fan and a Leafs fan, but the Leafs thing goes back to the 50s when we came to Canada.
Before we dive in, I want to put Peter Mansbridge into perspective for, we have a significant portion of American listeners. And it's really, and international listeners, but it's like 30% of people that listen to this show are American at least. Could be higher. And so Peter Mansbridge, for all of us growing up, was the voice of the biggest national broadcast in the country, which was The National, aptly named. You mentioned Walter Cronkite. That's who we compared you to on the previous episode. You're Canada's version of that. And I know this is going to be an awkward question, but do you ever are you ever able to process the effect that you had on this country in that realm? Like, has that ever sunk in for you that you're like, wow, that's a pretty big deal?
It's sunk in more since I stepped away from it all 4 years ago when I retired from the National after 30 years anchoring it and after 50 years on the program. The first 20 was as a reporter. But I don't think when I was there, I mean, I knew it was an important program to a lot of people, and people would come up to me on the street and say hello and all that. But it was after I left that I really started to get a sense from people who would come up and want to talk and say, I used to sit on the couch with my dad and we'd watch the National. That's how I learned about what was going on in the world just when I was a kid. And I grew up through that, and I grew up with you. Now, listen, that really made me, feel old when they talked that way, but it also made me realize how important the program is, or the program was, in terms of the relationship between those who wanted to be informed about what was going on around them and the people who were bringing that information to them. So it was a big deal. There's also been a lot of, new Canadians who've come from other parts of the world who have come up to me and said, when I came to Canada, I couldn't speak English. And I learned to speak English by watching and listening to you on the news. Now, when somebody says that to you, it's pretty overwhelming, right? I mean, they're not talking about me personally. They're talking about the program and the kind of institution that news and information is for Canadians. And, that element of it has been pretty overwhelming to me.
Do those experiences change who you are as a broadcaster? Because the more people I meet, the more I I don't know if you do this, but I picture a certain person sometimes when I'm talking, and then I hear, oh, a kid will watch it with their parents, or a new Canadian will watch it who maybe doesn't have the greatest grasp of English. Does that change how you are as a presenter?
I'm not sure. You're a better example, Dangle, of that than me. I mean, when I first watched
I don't know that.
yeah, when I first watched you, it was on what you do so incredibly well is your rants and the editing style you put together with them, and you go, wow, what's this guy like? Is this guy like this all the time? Is that like how he wakes up? Is that how he talks in his house? And so when you see you like this, it obviously is not had an impact on the way you really are. Or I don't know, maybe that's the way you really are, and this is the fake Steve Dangle. I don't know.
You'll never know.
Yeah, but you know what you try to do as a journalist and a presenter of the news is you're neutral, you're impartial, you're just trying to present the information as best you can in the proper context without any spin. Just give them the facts, let them decide for themselves what they want to believe, right? That's what you're trying to do. And if you get carried away with the position you're in, that can sometimes get in the way of what your goal is. Well,
and I forgot about this, but I pulled it up because I remembered it. If you want to get to know Peter a little bit too, Peter's also got a Disney side. Did you know this?
No.
Peter Mansbridge was in a Disney movie called Zootopia. He's an anchor called Peter Moosebridge. Oh. And he is the co-anchor on ZNN because it's American. ZNN.
Yes.
And Peter, I have to ask this because I'm a bit of a nerd for this stuff, but I remember I was an entertainment reporter at the time. I was at the premiere. So I want to know how that came about for you and what it's like doing a Disney movie.
Well, first of all, you have to remember whenever you mention Zootopia, you have to say the Golden Globe winning, Oscar winning film Zootopia.
Absolutely.
You must. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Right. Yeah. I mean, listen, you were an entertainment reporter at one point, Adam, and you clearly, that on that film, which was a couple hours long, there were about 8 seconds in there that made it that Oscar-winning film. And it just so happens those were the 8 seconds I was in the film.
There it is. Yeah.
Listen, that was a fluke, as much of my career has been, a fluke in terms of how I got into it. But, I was going through security at the Pearson Airport one day trying to catch a flight to Vancouver where I had a speech. And this guy yells out, "Hey, Peter Mansbridge, I got to talk to you." And he was in the line, a couple of spots behind me. So I waited for him. He came up to me and he said, "Look, I'm the vice president of Disney." and we were just talking about you in a meeting. And I said, "Right, yeah, sure." And he said, No, we want you in our next big animated feature. They'd done Frozen, which was huge.
Yeah.
And he said, this one, Zootopia, is going to be just as big, and we've got a character we've created for you and the whole bit. And I said, no, I can't do that stuff. It's against CBC regulations and all that, BS that happens. And so he said, no, we really want you. And I said, well, send me a letter. I've got to catch my plane, blah, blah, blah. So one thing led to another. And eventually they put forward this offer. I took it to the CBC and I said, look, it's Disney. It's going to go worldwide. Hundreds of millions of people are going to see this. And it's 8 seconds long. Really? Why would we give this up? And they said, no, it's, we can't do that. Anyway, I fought it, and it was, I knew it was going to be my last year. I hadn't told them yet, but I knew it was going to be. So I told the powers that be that, look, this is a great opportunity for me, for my kids and my grandkids. Let me do this thing. So they eventually relented. They said, can't accept any money. And I said, no, I've told them already. I won't accept money. and they said, so Disney says, we have to pay you something because of union regulations.
Oh, jeez.
Right? And so right there, you see that thing hanging on the wall there?
Yeah.
The check?
Me? That's a check from Disney. I've never cashed it. It's for $1.
Wow.
A US dollar, mind you.
Wait.
Wow, that's $1.23, I think, today.
That's right. Exactly. So that was my payment. And they gave the rest to a very good charity, actually. But it was fun. It was great. But it was 8 seconds long.
Well, you've made it, because of that 8 seconds, you've made it into the Disney Wiki. They have a Disney Wiki. He's in there, and they go into a whole explanation about his character. But Peter, that's in your book. I mean, that's part of the stories in your book. And it's called Off the Record, Peter Mansbridge. Peter, can you tell us about this book, the Canadiana in it, and what if we're, when we catch it and we read it, what are we in for?
You're in for a lot of different stories. Some are funny, some are emotional. They all talk a little bit about journalism, a little bit about Canada. And the idea here was for me to tell stories, to tell, that's what great journalists do and good journalists do and mediocre journalists like myself do. You tell stories and you fascinate your audience in some fashion. So the idea behind this book was to be anecdotal about my career, which is what I do here. And I tell, I don't know, there's probably 60, 70 anecdotes in here. You can move through this book fairly quickly. But as I said, it touches a lot of different things. And they're the kind of stories that you end up telling around the dinner table or in a bar to your friends, because they're not what happened on the air. They're sort of what happened behind the scenes on various stories. And sometimes, as you guys know, as well as I do, those are the most interesting parts of whatever it was you were covering. And so most of these stories I've never told before, certainly in public. But I think it's entertaining. It's been on the bestseller list for 9 weeks or something, and it makes a great Christmas gift.
Simon & Schuster must love you.
Yes.
So when I wrote my book, I don't know if you know this, I wrote a book. So I didn't write it.
That was the one with all the pictures in it, wasn't it?
Yeah. I go by an alias. I don't like to talk about it. It's Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
And so there's I didn't write it in order, obviously, like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. But I started to want to do the book more and more because I started thinking about it every day, and I had certain stories in mind. What was the story, or I guess the chapter in this book, where when you were thinking of the concept of the book, you're like, this has to be in it?
Well, that happened with a lot of things. I mean, over time, you start to collect these things. You're still a kid, Steve, really.
Sure.
And so you've got lots more stories to come. So you got many volumes of this book.
Hope so.
You allegedly wrote.
That's a bestseller, Peter Mansbridge.
Anyway, so I've been obviously collecting these over time. And there have been a number of times where I've kind of jotted down a line or two lines or maybe just a couple of words that represent that story so I don't end up forgetting it. But others have come up to me and said, are you going to tell that story about such and such? And I go, yeah, of course I am. And then as soon as I leave, I go, my God, I forgot that one. I better write that one down. So, I mean, that's been pretty much the process on this book. I had a bestseller last year as well. You didn't call me to be on your program.
Wow. You didn't offer. No, yeah, that's why you were on ice surfing.
Yeah.
But that was a lot different because it was stories about other Canadians. This one, Simon & Schuster pushed me, you got to do something about yourself. I said, I don't want to write a memoir because that feels like, you're almost dead, right? Here's my memoir, and now I'm gone. Because I'm still working. I'm still doing a lot of different things right now. It's just up in the Arctic a couple of weeks ago doing a documentary on Arctic sovereignty. And, I got a lot of things in the fire. But anyway, they said, let's do this. And so last summer, not the summer just gone by, but the summer before, through the first summer of the pandemic, how long are we going to be saying that? Like 10 years from now, we're going to say, remember the 8th summer of the pandemic?
Yeah. I hope not that long. My goodness.
Yeah.
We'll wake up tomorrow.
Although we're already longer than the Spanish flu was. And all they had was masks. And we got all these other, magical things, and we're still in it. And from every indication in the last few days, we're going to be in it for a while yet. Anyway, I digress. It became an easy thing to do through that first summer of the pandemic because there really was nothing else to do. I sat in my backyard and I wrote this book, 90,000 words, and it took 5 or 6 months, but that's what I did.
Wow. Yeah, I remember going through the book process with Steve as his friend, Peter. I've known Steve since high school. And
was he like this in high school?
Oh, yeah,
seriously.
absolutely.
Would he get up in class and he was screaming and waving his hands?
Absolutely. Yeah. He actually used to do, so Peter, Steve used to do the morning announcements. That was his big thing.
Oh no.
And he'd turn it into like a radio show. And then he would sometimes he thought it was hilarious to do the entire announcements, not a little bit, but the 3-4 minute long announcements as Elmo. Because he did an Elmo impression. And by the end of it, people were ready to jump through the speaker and strangle him. But
I've had better ideas, Peter Mansbridge.
but yeah, so jumping.
Jeez, I better not let Disney hear you.
Yeah.
Where's my deal?
Yeah.
I charge more than $1. Just let them know.
Peter, it's jumping through those hoops with Steve, because I felt Jesse and I definitely felt like we were on that journey with you every single time we got together for a show, and we did 100 shows a year at that point. We're doing even more now. We'd hear about the update. What's the update? Oh, I got to hit this deadline. Oh, I got to hit this. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to have to stay up all night. And I just wondered, because Steve made it feel like it was one of the most stressful processes he's ever been through. And it probably was. I'm not trying to take from that. It sounds like with you, I'm getting this picturesque version of you in a backyard surrounded by greenery in the summer and the birds are chirping and you're typing away and then all of a sudden, poof, you have a bestseller. Is that how it went for you?
That's exactly how it went.
Okay. Well, I guess some people are just good at this.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had a good editor as well at Simon & Schuster who was able to, because what I did was I wrote all these anecdotes. I wrote all these stories, whatever there were, 60 or 70 of them, and I sort of delivered them. I said, well, here they are. How do we make a book out of this? So they went through it all and determined, they came up with potential orders for these anecdotes, the run list, the chapter list, how it would all work. But it is basically the scenario you explained. It's not like, Steve has, I guess, whenever there's a Leafs game and, he's got to decide, is there enough here for my little shtick? And if there is, I got a gun to my head on getting it done within the next couple of hours. I don't know how he does it. I really don't know how he does it because I look at that production and it's, it's pretty amazing. But for me, it's I signed a contract offer and they said, okay, we want it for the fall of 2022. Well, I'd finished it by the early part of this year, 2021, and so they moved it up a year. But I mean, there was lots of time.
Right.
But the process was simple. I sat for the most part in my backyard. Early mornings. I like doing early morning writing, so I'd be up at like 5 or 5:30, and I'd get out there and write.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
How much
chaotic?
How much? Yeah, I like your version of events better. How much hockey is in this book? I'm curious, if any.
Very little. There were a couple of chapters I had, one on Bobby Orr and one on Carey Price. Bobby, who I know fairly well, and Carey Price, who kind of picked me out of a crowd in the Montreal dressing room one year that he wanted to talk to, and that led to the ability to spend a little time with him. But I'm saving those for what may be my next book. Ooh. But the one hockey element in there, there's I was born in England, raised in Southeast Asia, and when we came to Canada, I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I didn't know anything about hockey, and I was walking around with a cricket bat, looking a little odd when I arrived at the baseball diamond. But I got into hockey, and I loved hockey. And you were told at that early time, this is in Ottawa, there was no hockey team in Ottawa at that point. This is the late 50s. And it was, they said, you got to choose between red and blue. You're either a Habs fan, which is a little closer to Ottawa than Toronto, or you're a Toronto fan. If you're a Toronto fan, you're blue. If you're a Habs fan, you're red. Well, I chose Toronto, and that Christmas, my parents bought me, and there's a picture of it in the book of me standing there in a Leafs jersey, or whatever they pretended was a Leafs jersey at whatever store they found us in, and so that's where my affection for the Leafs began, and it was a much different time. Mm-hmm. I mean, Dangle would have been unemployed because they won every year, right?
Oh, sounds awful.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's how things started with me for hockey, and I think that's the only significant mention of hockey in this book.
Well, I believe we've got breaking news on this podcast that Peter Mansbridge is going to write another book, and it's going to be hockey related, which we're excited about.
Potentially,
maybe.
I didn't go quite as far as saying.
Adam, you present the facts and you let people decide. I was paying attention.
Peter Mansbridge. The book is called the Peter Mansbridge Off the Record, and this is my dad doesn't know this, but he's getting this for Christmas. My dad is an enormous Peter Mansbridge fan.
You're only getting him one copy?
Yeah. I bought the hardcover, okay? So you can check it out. You can buy it anywhere where you can buy books. Peter Mansbridge, an absolute honor to have you on our little show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's been a treat. Really enjoyed it.
Ho, 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 everyone. Let me ask you a question. You don't have to answer, but it's a serious question. Let's talk about the down there region. Is it clean? Do you feel like you're prepared with the right tools to keep it clean? Do you have access to the Performance Package 4.0? Because listen, if you go to manscaped.com right now and use that code DANGLE, 20% off and free shipping right now. Also, you should take advantage of this. This is really cool. The just launched Ultra Premium Body Wash and a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. Do I need to do this to my hair once? Yes. Twice? No. It's taken care of. Done. Easy. And here's the thing about the Performance Package 4.0. It includes this, and this is important, the Crop Preserver, the Crop Reviver, which is the anti-chafing ball deodorant, moisturizer, and toner. They're all in there. It's time to keep your North Pole feeling and smelling fresh. You'd be crazy not to take advantage of the 20% off and free shipping afforded to you by using the promo code DANGLE at manscaped.com. Again, that's 20% off and free shipping with the code DANGLE at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping, manscaped.com. Use that promo code DANGLE. Clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year. Balls. So we got a couple of quick things that we got to talk about. It seems as though the Arizona Coyotes have paid their bills. But maybe. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that like Mike Stevens, our buddy Mikey Stevens, 81.
Hell of a day. Hell of a week.
Yeah, he got himself verified.
Yeah, finally.
I'm sure his wife called him back. She's coming back. He always says his wife left him. He's never been married. I love it. And then calls the city that was going to lock the Coyotes out of their arena for unpaid bills. I think it was $1.3 million that they were back on.
So good.
And what was amazing about is they said, "Oh, it's human error. It's our bad." And the guy from City Council in Gila said, Well, they did come and pay, but we're dubious about the idea that it was human error.
Well, so can you pull up the exact quote? Because I have an exact counter quote. And by the way, what I'm saying so good to is Mikey's reporting.
Oh, it's incredible.
Because what we were getting was Katie Strang basically reporting the story. The Coyotes are 12 days away. An NHL team is 12 days away from getting locked out of their building.
So Glendale city manager Kevin Phelps insisted that he couldn't speak to the internal workings of Ice Arizona Hockey LLC, which is the Coyotes' parent company, but he remains highly skeptical of the reasoning. Here in Arizona, all taxpayers have to pay online. And so there's a very simple process. You go online on your account and you plug in the numbers for the taxes that are due. And there's a gigantic button that says remit payment in all caps. And that's done monthly. So every month since June 2020, somebody has filled out that information and admitted the form, but forgot to submit the payment along with it. Could it have been human error? Was it possible that it wasn't? No. Is it likely? I would say we remain skeptical, especially in light of past history.
So that's Kevin Phelps. This is Gary Bettman today. It's clear that the city of Glendale has an edge or agenda in terms of how they're dealing with the Coyotes.
Wait, what? Read that one more time.
It's clear the city of Glendale has an edge or agenda in terms of how they're dealing with the Coyotes.
Bettman said that.
Bettman said that.
So he's implying that
the city doesn't like the Coyotes.
Jesse, if I owed you $1.3 million and I took 6 months to pay you back and I was a little shitty about it, how would you react?
I'd be upset.
Mm-hmm. Would you want to maybe kick me in the teeth?
So
I definitely give a quote to Mikey Stevens that's kind of passive aggressive.
So this is
You
great.
Pay your fucking bills. This isn't hard. Oh, I hate that guy so much.
So Hockey News, by the way, you got to read this article. Mikey's just on fire here. But according to Phelps, this is Kevin Phelps from the city. He's the city manager. Coyotes have not paid rent on Gila River Arena as outlined in their building agreement, a revelation that comes roughly 5 months after the city of Glendale informed the team that it would be opting out of its joint lease in order to pursue other ventures. Well, duh, they don't pay. The Coyotes must find a new home for next season, and they have yet to do so. Speaking at the NHL GM's meetings in Florida on Thursday evening, this is such a Gary Bettman move. Get ready for this. Commissioner Gary Bettman weighed in on the matter as well, stating there was no problem with the Coyotes arena situation that leaves the franchise he helped install without a home rink for 2023. And this is what Phelps said. Well, I don't know how he defines problem. What I can say is there's been speculation that our whole objective has been to create leverage on the team so we could cut a better deal on the lease. And it's been one of those things that has been challenging to refute. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's not about creating leverage. We have decided to move on and in a different direction. We're ready to announce publicly a major renovation on the arena, and we think that has a bright future with the Coyotes not part of it.
Wow.
That quote to me says we're sick of this shit.
Mm-hmm. We're going to try something new with this building. It's no longer going to be a hockey mainly building. We want to move on because the Coyotes have been a terrible tenant. And that's entirely fair for, what is it, Kevin Phelps? Phelps. That's entirely fair for the stance for him to take. Because it's something there that's in their right that they can do. And if you have a shitty tenant, when the lease is up, don't renew it with them.
And it's public domain. This is public money, right?
The people of Glendale built that arena.
So, again, to emphasize, because this Katie Strang story came out and Craig Morgan confirmed they haven't paid their money and they're going to get kicked out in 12 days. Then the Coyotes went, it was the intern we put in charge. By the way, if you own a big company and the person in charge of paying the city of Glendale over $1 million fucks up, that's your fuck up. If the people you hired for that fucked up, it's your fuck up. Someone at your company fucks up and you're the owner of the company, you fucked up. So to emphasize again from Mikey Stevens, just spoke with Glendale city manager Kevin Phelps. According to him, the Coyotes have presented checks to make them current on the 2020-2021 season and game day expenses for the 2021-22 season. And it was presented as done. But Mikey goes, they have not, however, paid rent for Gila River Arena. These guys suck. absolutely right. And Bettman being shitty to the city that
took you in
when
you had nowhere to go.
Stayed there. You've been awful. You've been nothing but awful for literally ever. And you owe them 7 digits, and you're being an asshole. No wonder they want you gone. You stink. Ugh. I really cannot stand when that man opens his mouth.
How does this look for Tempe? You know, this whole the rumor that there's some sort of arena that's going to go in there. Why would, if I am in government in that area, and I say this with apologies to Coyotes fans, because I do not, for Coyotes fans, want this franchise to fail. Look at what it gave us, Austin Matthews, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But also, it gave a lot of people something that they love. And it's not like the team's been unsupported. It's the management and ownership has been terrible all the way through the history. It's been a joke. So if you're Tempe City Council and you're going to sit there and watch this story, are you confident that whatever thing they want to build is a good idea to put public treasury funds into? Even if it's not, even if you're offering tax breaks, even if it's not that, you know that they are going to have to pay taxes on your land. Whatever the deal is going to be, they're going to have to pay taxes on that land. Are you confident they're going to make those payments?
You know what, Adam? That's a great question. And one that we should ask. Let me just Google the owner real quick. Oh, it's nothing but bad stories. Ever since he came into the picture with the Coyotes. Ever since. When's it going to stop? The next owner is going to come along. There's going to be a next owner, let's be honest. The next owner is going to come along. And let's be hesitant about anointing this person the savior of the franchise. Every savior of the franchise has driven them further into shit.
This guy, though, and it's funny because when he did come on, his specialty is buying distressed assets, turning them around, making them profitable, and selling them. That's his specialty. And if that's how he's become a billionaire. Coyotes are a distressed asset, everybody. They are on life support every year and have been from the NHL. The Coyotes don't exist without revenue sharing. They don't. You know that. And this guy can't do it, or hasn't. And if this guy can't, and that's his specialty is quite literally doing what you need to do in Arizona. What's the viability going forward?
It sounds like the care that you need to run this team isn't being taken. Like, nobody's watching it closely enough. Because, like, in order to grow the game of hockey, you need to put hockey in non-traditional markets. Mm-hmm. That there's a reason the NHL bought the team back and owned it for all those years, because they needed it in Arizona. Like you said, it literally gave us Austin Matthews. He watched the team as a kid, and that's what got him into hockey.
Lots of other players, too.
The NHL needs to be in markets like this, where hockey is not the number one sport. But when you're in a market like this, you need to take care of the team and watch the details and make sure that everything's being run properly. You need an owner there who's watching the finer things of the franchise, like paying your taxes on time and connecting with the community. And it's a shame that they're not doing it, because it can be so successful and you can really grow the game if you just watch the team and make sure everything is run as it should be. And they're not doing it. And hopefully, just for the sake of the people in Arizona, someone comes in who's gonna do the due diligence and really care about the Coyotes, because they haven't had that in the 25 years now that they've been in Arizona. They haven't had
97.
Yeah, about that.
6 or 7.
96.
Yeah.
96, 97 was
about
the first
25. Yeah, almost there. So they haven't had that, I don't think, in their entirety of their franchise. And I hope one day they get that. One day very soon, when this owner's out.
Yep.
And then when Houston gets a franchise, they get that too. Yep. And it's not, hopefully it's not the Coyotes, and they get to stay there.
Chris Johnston on the CJ show that I listened to on the way here, saying that Houston feels like a when, not an if.
Man, I'm surprised. I thought they want an expansion tag before they want that.
You got to go to 34.
I think they want that. I just don't think. I think that, like, if you don't want to go to 31 again, you might have to move them to Houston. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think in a perfect world for them, they would have Houston and Arizona.
Okay, so
pay your bills.
And a lot of people got on me on Twitter about this. You know, people are like, "Why would it go to Houston before Quebec City?" And I'm like, "Yo, on the power rankings list of teams, Houston is like fifth in metropolitan area, 7 million people. You need 250,000 of them to be hockey fans for that team to live.
With all due respect, that's an extremely Canadian point of view.
Yes.
You're not looking at it.
Yeah.
You don't know how ridiculous that statement sounds to like your average American.
And I would say you put a team in Hamilton, and by the way, both eyes on Hamilton, everybody. I think there's something brewing there. I don't know what it is. I keep reading stuff, and I'm like, there's something happening here. Do you guys know this?
What?
So I told you about the Oakview group, right?
Yeah, you mentioned this on the show.
But do you know that Irving Azoff's involved in that too? So it's the official expansion into Canada. So it's the Lewicki brothers, both of them.
Yeah.
And Irving Azoff, who was like one of the biggest managers in music ever, who was like Fleetwood Mac's manager. This guy's huge. And they're all bringing, and they were all a part of what built both of those arenas. They're here now. Don't be surprised.
For Hamilton. Yeah.
I think it's going to be Hamilton, guys.
I'm just stuck on why put a team in Houston when you could put it in a market that's a fraction of the size.
Here's what I would want to do. If I'm Gary Bettman, here's how I maneuver the chess pieces, okay? You got a distressed franchise, you have to save it because you don't want to go into contraction. Because that's actually an option here.
Yep.
It just announced as we were recording this show, the NHL is on track to hit over $5 billion this year. What that means is they're tracking at a higher percentage of money in than they were in 2019.
Good for them.
And that makes sense, right? Fatter TV deals, okay? But that doesn't mean the cap's going up. The players have a bunch of money to pay back, yada, 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 yada. So there's all that, okay? If I'm Gary Bettman, here's how I look at this situation. There are two cities that really want to franchise in the United States, and I need them to pay $1 billion for a franchise tag. Vegas was $500 million. Seattle was $750 million. The next one will be $1 billion, and I bet you the next one after that will be $1.25 billion. That's what they're going to be looking for teams 33 and 34. I move Arizona, if I can't save it, to the Golden Horseshoe. I move it to Southern Ontario, and the reason I do that is you've got a built-in hockey audience. Mm-hmm. The Leafs, I think it's only 50 miles outside of Toronto that they can hold. There's something like there can't be a team within a certain distance of Toronto. Sure. There's some sort of rule. And Jesse was on this before I was like, no, Jesse, they'll never put a team here. And now I squarely believe they're putting a team here. That's what I think is going to happen if they can't save the Coyotes.
I was just laughing at this Gary Bettman quote from yesterday, tweeted by Chris Johnston. Gary Bettman on Coyotes arena situation. There's no problem, but we'll deal with that tomorrow.
So there's a problem.
What the fuck?
There's no problem, but we'll deal with that tomorrow. That should be the title of like some sort of law book. There's no problem, but we'll deal with that tomorrow.
Really good lawyer speak. Hey, I want to ask you guys quickly, what'd you think of the game last night versus Tampa?
Well, there's a reason I shot my LFR the way I did. I think the story of that game is the story of the Leafs. I learned two things about the Leafs last night that I've learned over the last 2 months. One, they're really good. Two, they're not good enough. The standard they are held to is the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Because you thought you hated playing Boston in the first round every year. Well, let me tell you something, friendo. That loss bumped them down to third in the Atlantic. They're on pace for over 110 points. They're third in their division. That means, the way this is going right now, in the first round, they're going to have to play one of the Panthers or the Lightning, and they probably won't even have home ice advantage. Is it fair? No! Neither is life! But I can tell you this team is better than last year's.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I've seen enough. I think they're better than last year's team.
And no Marner in the lineup too, right?
It's a
big deal.
Tampa, no Kucherov, no Point, no Cirelli. That's devastating. I'm trying to think.
Worse than Marner.
Yeah.
I think that's worse than missing Marner.
It's like the Leafs being down Tavares, Matthews, Marner.
Yeah.
It's devastating, and it just doesn't affect them. And they're still a good hockey team, and they're still in every game, and they obviously have flaws, but we know what the flaws are. And like the fact that they can just yoink out of the minors a guy like Taylor Radish is so friggin' unfair.
I know.
It's
amazing.
They do such a good job. But the standard they're being held to is the Panthers and the Lightning. And if you're telling me that a top four of Morgan Rielly, TJ Brody, Jake Muzzin, and Justin Holl has a shot you're just kidding yourself.
So, and specifically, there is one name. I don't want to jump on someone's back here because he is having a rough year, but you can't talk about the Leafs defense this year without talking about the
Justin
surprise
Holl.
that Justin Holl is a disappointment.
And it is a surprise, and he's earned his spot in the league where it's a surprise.
It is.
But like, we're a third of the way through the season. This is part of the reason that I chose this video to have this conversation. We're a third of the way through the season. Let's not let Jake Muzzin off the hook. Holy shit, he's been bad. He's been really bad. I don't think he's played a healthy game since puck drop. But at some point, a move needs to be made because you can't go into the playoffs with this top four. And I don't know if throwing Timothy Liljegren into that slot is enough. But after last night, I'm like, okay, well, we know Holl is not good enough. We know.
Why do you think? What's happened? What's he not doing?
He doesn't contribute in any way, shape, or form. And
was he contributing before, though? Or was it Muzzin being not hurt and playing well? And he played well with Muzzin?
Well, even
what
when
was
Holl
it?
was playing well, there was an air of he can't do it without Muzzin. And whenever Muzzin was out of the lineup, he wasn't nearly as effective. You put anyone with Muzzin, they look probably better than they did with their previous partner, namely Liljegren, right? He's big for nothing. He's a capable penalty killer. He's had a couple bad bounces hitting the puck into his own net, but he's got 1 point this year. Like this guy was able to create offense, and he just hasn't been able to do that with the same success. If he's not going to be hard in front of the net, then there's no point to him being big. So people talk about, well, he's a big defenseman, right-handed, makes X amount of money. Well, he might as well be 5'6". It doesn't matter that he's big if he doesn't use it. And he just hasn't been a good decision maker in his own end. The offside play with Matthews, I mean, everyone watching went, what the
You
what
mean it
was
was
that?
from like 10 games ago?
Yeah. Oh, it was a lot longer than that. It was earlier in the season. But remember, that's what turned it around.
Mm-hmm.
What turned it around is Matthews having a conniption, which I've never seen him do really, on one of his own teammates. He was scratched for 5 straight games, and the Leafs have never looked back. They've never looked back. They hit a bit of a speed bump, but they weren't going to be basically undefeated for the rest of the year, They bank points, and that's good. But we're going into a 7-game series against Aaron Ekblad and Mackenzie Weegar or Victor Hedman and Ryan McDonough. It's just not the same. It's not the same. Now, is Riley Brody, would you throw that into the conversation? I know what pairing I think is third best out of the ones I just mentioned. But with a Muzzin/competent guy on his right pair, I look at their offense, I look at their goaltending, I go, you got a shot.
Is this a confidence thing for Holl? Does he look worse because Muzzin's injured and he's less effective?
For a very specific thing that I see when I watch Justin Holl is when the puck goes, when the other team dumps the puck, let's say, and they go for a change, and Justin Holl goes back to his own net, and he gets the puck from Campbell.
And they attack his side.
And then he tries to get the puck up the ice. Every single time it seems like it's a struggle. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's never a clean breakout when the puck is on his stick. And it worries me whenever I see Justin Holl have to come up the right side and get the puck to somebody in the neutral zone.
And let me be fair.
He's not effective at it.
Let me be fair. I can't write off Muzzin's struggles as I think he's hurt and Holl is just garbage. Like I think he battled an illness. He could be hurt too. You never know what's going on.
But the results.
I can tell you this is not good enough, and it doesn't look like it's going to get good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and like, listen to me not yelling and screaming about it. Like, I'm just saying this is calm, cool, collected, cold facts. They're good. They're good. Holy shit, what a revelation Kasha is.
Yeah.
What a revelation. They're the best face-off team in the league, I think, or still
Bunting
top 5.
is incredible.
Bunting, just so good. Liljegren is far better than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Play Richie down in the lineup.
Richie's fine down in the lineup. Simmons is
Unbelievable
having
this
a
year.
pretty good year.
Yeah.
He seems to have 80 goals that could have almost went in.
Oh my god.
That's his specialty this year is almost scoring, and that's all you can ask for out of your third line.
Tavares
is awesome.
is above a point a game.
Mm-hmm.
Willie's been great. Matthews is
Willie's
back in the Rocket conversation.
Willie's decision making is sometimes like
Yeah.
last night he had
Trade him.
He scored last night. I kind of hated his game.
Yeah.
It was maybe his, I don't know, second worst game of the
But
season.
he has less of those games now
Oh
than
yeah,
he ever did.
Oh yeah, but he
100%.
wasn't good.
Yeah,
and
like
he needs to be good every game when Marner's not in the lineup. This is the problem, right? Oh shit, Kerfoot! What a
Excellent.
revelation!
Yep.
And I feel like I'm talking about the Montreal series again, where I look at individual performances and I go, wait a sec, almost all of you are good, but if the important things are bad, which is what happened in the Montreal series, in the Montreal series, it was the top line, or Matthews, Marner specifically. Right now, it's specifically the shutdown pair. It's becoming less of an option. The less likely it looks like Jack Campbell is going to be a .940 goaltender for the entire season,
Yeah.
the more that pair is exposed.
I just don't think Justin Holl has the decision making right now to be like, hey, this team's going to be in the top 5 of the NHL, and he's one of our top defenders.
So can you-
Justin Holl's just not there.
Can you flip him down for Liljegren? Because why not? Liljegren, you might as well give him a shot.
Well, with Sandin and Dermott out of the lineup, you need him. But as it sounds like Dermott is coming back soon,
Yeah.
I think you got to look at having Muzzin, Liljegren, and then, oh my God, Rubens Dermott.
Boy.
No.
Boy.
He's,
No, but
What'd you think of
go
Rubens?
get someone. I don't know.
I don't mind Rubens. Like,
I've
seen enough of him that I want to see more.
I do miss Zach Bogosian a little.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's only been 2 games.
Mhm.
Sheldon Keefe, I wanted to highlight his comments about him in the LFR because there was some criticism in there, but he's also like, I like that he's fighting.
No, I liked him.
Yeah.
I like Rubens. I think like
Sure.
whatever. The guy stepped in and done fine. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying I miss Zach Bogosian when you
No, of
give me the
course.
lineup card of who's in and who's out.
But the reason I brought it up is while Keefe was critical, he also had a compliment in there, and the compliments have been few and far between from that guy recently. So I'd like to see more of him. This is great. It's great that we're getting to evaluate guys like Alex Steves and guys like Christian Rubens, and we might get a look at Alex Biega because the Leafs might need him down the line. And who knows, maybe Chad Chris will get in the lineup, brand new Leaf.
Yeah, that was a trade. Curtis Gabriel, Chad Chris.
Yeah.
What do you know about it? Why was it done?
The Blackhawks wanted some grit, and what usually happens with those minor league deals. By the way, I'm telling you, the Blackhawks wanted some grit. I'm not guessing. I did some sniffing around.
Oh.
They wanted some grit, and what probably happens with a minor league deal like that is the Blackhawks go, we would like this guy from you, and in return, we will give you a player from this list. And the Leafs take a look at this list, and they go, well, here's a guy named Chad Chris. He's a former second-round pick from 2016. He is a defenseman. We could use some depth at that position right now. And also, he played with Matthews at the U.S. program, defenseman Matt Hellickson from the Toronto Marlies, Joey Anderson, Joseph Woll, JD Greenway, who we drafted in Chris's draft year. And who is the other guy? There was one other guy. He played with a wild amount of guys who either are in or were in the Leafs organization when he was at, can't remember what college school he went to, but I don't know. We probably spent way too much time on Chad Chris
No, I just
on
want to
this
know
episode already.
Is he a player?
I don't think they got him just to get him. I think they got him because there's a chance they think he could be of some value to them.
Okay.
If the Leafs make a trade for a defenseman, who are pieces off the lineup that you'd be okay with going the other way? What can you take away from to add to the defense core?
That's a great question, Jesse. And it's Dubas is getting hammered right now for, well, one decision in particular.
Signing John Tavares.
Yeah. No, the decision to protect Justin Holl, and that way you had to expose both Kerfoot and McCann. But the way the Leafs looked at it, I think, is it was protecting Kerfoot. Now, McCann is doing really well. But I look at pieces off the roster you can trade, especially once they get healthy. Might have to be Kerf.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's funny how the conversation with him has changed. There was earlier in the season where I was like, this guy doesn't have a spot in the lineup, and that was a very short amount of time. And now he's been so good that I'm like, okay.
Now he's valuable and could bring in the thing that they need.
Yeah, like you can't get a defenseman to fill that role and make you competitive with the Lightning and Panthers without them having some kind of a salary.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm thinking at least $3 or $4 million. They have a tiny bit of space, so all right, who has to come off the books?
Well, and maybe
Kerfoot.
a guy like Hall goes the other way too, make salaries work. You can do that, right?
Kerf and Hall, maybe a pick. Could Mikheyev be part of that? Could Dermott be part of that? I think all that's possible. So again, this isn't a moan.
Mm-hmm.
Like this isn't a doom and gloom conversation.
Not a piss or a moan.
No, this is problem solving, is what this is.
Yeah.
Worrying is not problem solving. A wise man called my therapist once told me. Worrying is not problem solving. This is problem solving. We don't have these conversations with teams that suck. The Leafs are good, but
They have to be better.
looking forward, with the goal being the Stanley Cup and being competitive in the playoffs, and specifically taking on a team like the Panthers or Lightning, they have to have at least a comparable defense, and right now they don't.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, I guess we'll leave it, right?
I
Jesse,
think so.
you got a big stream tonight, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of the Tampa
Good luck.
Bay Lightning, goodness. Our Buffalo Sabres are going up against the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight on twitch.tv/SDPN Live. It starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. Tune in. We're going to watch the game. It's 10-minute periods. It's Game 7, second round of the Eastern Conference.
I believe in you.
Do you believe? Yeah.
I think you can do it.
I don't know. It could be our
you can do
last
it.
game ever. It's like
Oh.
up to the hockey gods right now.
Oh! Jeff Petrie, go-ahead goal, third period.
That's what you think's going to happen?
Absolutely.
Jeff Petrie, who just punched it into the lineup. Our coach decided to put him in.
He's going to get one.
He's been huge. I think he has 2 goals so far in the playoffs, and that's a lot from Jeff
He
Petrie.
doesn't have a goal. He doesn't have a cup yet.
Oh, you think he's trying for it?
He's the gray beard who he's like, let's win it for me. He's not waiting for the rest of the team to do
No.
it. He's like, let's win it for me.
He spets a fight in Columbus. He's like, I need this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
The
All right.
better
Blake,
outcome.
we'll see what happens if GM Jesse Blake can get over the hump.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll update you all on Monday, or just watch tonight and see, and then we'll see if there's another stream next Wednesday.
You're an NHL GM. You'll find a new job in no time.
It's true. They all just get shuffled around. We didn't mention Jim Rutherford happened after
yeah.
our Wednesday show.
Yeah, Jim Rutherford too.
He also got another job.
And by the way, I want to give
Google
full
him.
marks to you because you were the one who said, "Hey, Jim Rutherford." And we're
Oh,
like,
that's right.
Somebody called it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, he's
Because he's connected.
yeah.
I'm in the GM
Gee,
circle.
that's a peer.
That's a
Hey,
peer.
Well, what happened was when Jesse started doing such a great job on NHL 22, the Aquilinis actually called him and said, "Jesse, what would you do here? You have rebuilt the Sabres in your own image." And Jesse said, "Sorry, this is Sunday. It's the 7th day. I rest." But then he called them Monday and said, "Jim Rutherford, call him."
And then I said, I got into the Squid Game thing.
Yeah.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.